My beloved, you have carried fear like a second skin, haven't you? Not always visible, not always acknowledged, but always there. A shadow walking beside you, silent but heavy. It has lived in your decisions, in the quiet pauses before you speak, in the anxious glances toward the future, in the weight behind your prayers. You may not always name it as fear. Sometimes you call it caution. Sometimes you call it wisdom, discernment, responsibility. But beneath it all, fear whispers the same message. You're alone. You're vulnerable. You're not safe. That lie has taken root in places you didn't even realize were fertile. But today, I'm pulling it up, gently but firmly, with hands that know every part of who you are. You were not created for fear. You were created for love. That is the truth I want to write again across the pages of your heart. Fear is not your nature. It is your intruder. It entered your story through the brokenness of the world, through the betrayal of trust, through the silence that followed your cries. It came in moments when you needed comfort and found none, when you reached for safety and found only distance, when you looked for reassurance and were met with more uncertainty. I saw it all, not from a distance, not passively. I was there. Every moment fear tried to claim you, I stood near, my love unblinking, my presence unwavering. You do not need to pretend that fear hasn't shaped you. I do not ask for pretense. I ask for honesty, the kind of honesty that says, God, I'm scared, without guilt. The kind of honesty that trusts me enough to speak the words you've tried to hide. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to stop feeling like this. I'm tired of being afraid. Bring me that. Bring me the fear you've buried so deep you barely remember when it started. Bring me the trembling you don't let others see. Bring me the fears that wake you in the night, that haunt your thoughts in the quiet, that steal joy from your victories. I want them. Not to shame you, but to free you. Because fear thrives in secrecy. It feeds on isolation. It grows stronger in silence. But my love flourishes in the open. It heals in honesty. It renews in surrender. When you bring your fear into the light of my presence, it begins to shrink. Not always instantly, not always without struggle, but my love begins to do what fear cannot: restore, rebuild, and redeem. My love enters the very place where fear resides and begins to change the landscape. What once felt like a prison becomes a sanctuary. What once felt like chaos becomes peace. Not because circumstances change, but because you realize I am there with you, and that changes everything. I don't need you to be fearless. I need you to let me be the one who stands with you in the fear. Courage, real courage, is not the absence of fear. It is the choice to keep walking while holding my hand. And you have that courage, even if you don't see it. Every day that you choose to get up, to love again, to hope again, to trust again, that is courage. That is faith in action. You may not feel brave, but the very act of seeking me in the middle of your fear is an act of sacred bravery. Do you know how I see you? Not as fragile or failing, not as someone falling short, because fear sometimes wins a moment. I see you as strong, as precious, as mine. I see the battle in your mind and heart, and I do not condemn you for it. I honor your struggle. I weep with you in the heaviness. I speak gently when the noise is too loud. I do not rush you to move on from fear. I walk with you through it, at your pace, with kindness and grace. I know every reason why it has clung to you. I know the trauma behind the tension, the history behind the hesitation, and I hold it all with perfect understanding. My love is not a concept. It is a force. It is alive. It is active. It is near. It is stronger than the fear that is wrapped around you. Where fear demands control, my love offers trust. Where fear demands performance, my love offers rest. Where fear demands perfection, my love offers grace. This is what I want you to know. You are safe with me. Even when you are afraid, even when your heart pounds and your thoughts spiral, you are still held, still covered, still deeply, fully loved. Let me be your refuge. Not a distant idea, but a real place in your spirit where you can exhale. Let me be the calm in your chaos, the stillness in your storm. Let me remind you that you are not navigating this alone. Every time you felt like you couldn't take one more step, I was there, strengthening your legs. Every time you thought you might fall apart, I was holding the pieces. And every time you felt like no one understood, I did. You've been brave for too long on your own. You've tried to manage, to fix, to figure it all out. You've told yourself to get over it, to be stronger, to stop feeling this way. But I'm telling you something different now. I'm telling you, come to me. Not as someone who has it all together, but as someone who is tired. Tired of pretending, tired of fighting alone, tired of feeling like they'll never be free. You can stop running now. You can fall into my arms. I will catch you. I have always been catching you. Today, right now, I want to begin something new in you. Not a quick fix, but a deep transformation. One rooted not in your ability to overcome, but in my ability to hold you while you're still in process. Fear may still knock, but it no longer has to move in. You may still hear its voice, but it no longer gets the final word. I do. And my word over you is love. You are mine. You are safe. You are not alone. You never were. You're learning even now what it means to live with fear and not be ruled by it. That is a sacred tension, a holy transformation, unfolding not in the loud victories, but in the quiet spaces where you keep choosing me despite the trembling. The world measures healing by what disappears. I measure healing by what is made new. You don't have to wait until fear is gone to know that I am working. In fact, your awareness of fear is often the very place where you become aware of my love. Because when you are afraid and still you turn to me, that is worship. That is trust. That is holy. Fear is not simply an emotion, it is a language. And for too long, it has spoken louder than my truth. It has tried to narrate your story, to rewrite your identity, to define your possibilities. It has told you that you are unsafe, unwanted, unable. And I know how persuasive those lies have been. They were spoken over you in places where you were vulnerable. They were repeated in moments when you were too tired to fight. They were etched into your thoughts when love was absent or distorted. But I am rewriting those lines. My love speaks a different story, a louder one, a truer one. My love says you are safe, not because the world is safe, but because I am with you. My love says you are wanted, not because you've done something to earn it, but because I chose you before time began. My love says you are able, not because fear disappears, but because I empower you to move forward, even when it remains. You are not who fear says you are. You are who I say you are. Cherished, chosen, cradled in grace. Do you know what I see when you cry? Not failure, not weakness. I see a soul brave enough to feel, brave enough to admit pain, brave enough to need me. And there is no braver place than the arms of the one who created you. You are not meant to harden yourself against fear, pretending it doesn't hurt. You are meant to soften in my presence, allowing me to meet you right where the wound lives. Let me touch that place. Let me enter the room where fear has sat like an uninvited guest for years. I will not come with force. I will come with peace, with gentleness, with truth that disarms the lies and silences the panic. Some fears are generational, passed down like patterns. woven into the fabric of your story before you ever had words. I see those too. I see how you've inherited battles you didn't ask for. I see how you've tried to carry burdens that were never yours to bear. And I honor the strength it has taken to walk through life with those weights. But I want to do more than honor it. I want to heal it. I want to break the cycle. With me, the past does not get to dictate your future. My love is not just for soothing the moment. It is for redeeming the entire narrative. You may be afraid of what happens if you stop trying to control everything. Afraid that if you let go, everything will collapse. But that belief was born in a place of survival, not faith. And I understand it. I don't blame you for it. I simply offer something better. When you loosen your grip, you make space for my hands to move. When you stop striving to keep everything from falling apart, you discover that I am already holding everything together, including you. Letting go is not the same as giving up. Letting go is trust in motion. And I will never let you fall where my love cannot catch you. You've learned to be self-sufficient because others have failed you. You've kept parts of yourself hidden because vulnerability once led to pain. I know. I was there. I watched as people misunderstood you, ignored your needs, abandoned you at your most fragile. I didn't cause those wounds, but I've always been committed to healing them. Not by pretending they didn't happen, but by walking with you through every layer of pain until the sting begins to fade and the scars begin to shine with the testimony of survival and divine presence. I see how fear has convinced you to shrink, to hide your voice, to question your worth, to play small when you were made for more. But you don't have to apologize for who you are anymore. You don't have to wait until fear's gone to take up space. I made you with intention. I called you good. I placed my light inside you, not so it would flicker in fear, but so it would burn with the fire of divine courage. Even now, that fire is awakening again. Even now, the parts of you that fear tried to silence are rising with new strength. You do not need to rush this process. I am not in a hurry with your heart. I am walking at your pace. I am patient with your growth. I celebrate your small steps as much as your great leaps. Every moment you say, God, I still believe. Even when fear screams is a triumph in heaven. Every whisper of trust is a victory that shakes darkness. You may not see how far you've come, but I do. And I am so proud of you. You are not too much. Your fear is not too loud for me. Your struggle is not too complex for me to understand. I made your heart. I know how to hold it. I made your mind. I know how to quiet it. I made your soul. I know how to restore it. You are safe. You are seen. You are so deeply loved. Let my love be the louder voice. Let it rise above the panic, the doubt, the accusations. Let it remind you over and over again that you are not alone, that you never were, that the one who made the stars also holds your fears, and he is not afraid of them. There's a hidden place inside of you where the fear feels justified, where it almost feels right to be afraid, because the past has taught you that fear keeps you alert, protected, prepared. It told you that if you're afraid, you can avoid pain. If you anticipate the worst, you'll never be caught off guard. But that's not freedom. That's not peace. That's survival dressed up as wisdom, and I want to take you deeper than survival. I want to lead you into a life where love is not just a concept you believe, but the air you breathe, real, unshakable, and present in the places where fear once made its home. You've learned to anticipate fear like a season that always returns. You brace yourself, you shrink, you wait for it, and in that waiting, your joy has grown thin, your hope has grown cautious, and your trust has felt fragile. I know how heavy it is to live like that. I know how much effort it takes to always be ready for things to fall apart. And I know how it has made you feel responsible for everything. Like if you just tried harder, feared more effectively, stayed more alert, you could prevent the hurt. But, beloved, you were never meant to be your own protector. That's my role. That's my joy. Let me have that place. Fear convinces you to hold on tight. My love invites you to release. Release your grip on the outcome, on the timelines, on the illusion of control. Not because the world is safe, but because I am. Not because you've mapped out the perfect plan, but because I've already gone before you. You don't have to figure it all out. You don't have to know what's coming next. You only need to stay close to me. When you walk with me, even the most uncertain paths become secure, because my presence becomes your compass, not your circumstances. Sometimes fear doesn't shout. It whispers quietly in your self-doubt. It shows up in the hesitation before you step forward, in the second guessing after you speak, in the way you replay conversations in your mind, wondering if you were too much or not enough. Fear tells you to dim your light, to question your belonging, to wait for approval. But I never asked you to earn your place. I gave it freely. You belong because I said so. Not because you've never made mistakes, but because you are mine. And you are still mine. Even when your thoughts are noisy, even when your heart races, even when your voice shakes. I do not call you to come to me once you've calmed down. I invite you to come to me in the middle of the storm, especially then. I don't need your fear to be cleaned up or explained. I only ask you to bring it, lay it before me. Let me carry what was never meant to be your burden. You weren't designed to live under that weight. Do you know what fear fears most? My love. Because my love doesn't just soothe anxiety, it silences the lie that you are unprotected, unwanted, unsafe. My love declares over you even now, this one is mine, this one is covered, this one is safe. Fear thrives on lies. Love thrives on truth. And the truth is, I've never left your side. Not when you cried silently in the car. Not when you lay awake counting every possible disaster. Not when your body trembled and you didn't know why. I was there. I am still here. Let me speak to the places where fear has become familiar. Let me enter the corners of your mind that you've kept locked because you weren't sure anyone could understand what goes on in there. I understand. I know the intricate patterns of your anxiety. I know how fast your thoughts can spiral. I know how hard you try to appear fine. And I know the relief you long for but can't seem to grasp. I hold all of that with compassion. I do not rush you. I do not mock your process. I walk beside you, even if you feel like you're crawling. Even if some days you feel like you're moving backward. You're not failing just because fear still visits. You're not a spiritual disappointment because anxiety still touches your days. Do you hear me? You're not a failure. You are my child. And healing doesn't always look like a straight line. It looks like showing up over and over again, even when you're tired. It looks like whispering, God, I trust you, even when fear is screaming. It looks like leaning into me again and again, when your instinct says to run. And I see how hard you're trying. I see the moments no one else sees. The way you push through your day with shaky hands. The way you fight to be present, even when your thoughts try to drag you away. The way you extend kindness to others when you feel empty yourself. I see you. And I'm not keeping score. I'm keeping you. You don't earn my presence. You live in it. My love is not a reward for good behavior. It is the starting point of your healing. It's the foundation, the framework, the forever. Everything you're afraid of losing, peace, stability, security, you find in me and you can never lose me. When the waves rise, my hand holds you. When the path darkens, my voice guides you. When your heart breaks, my arms carry you. And I will never grow tired of being your refuge. So let me rewrite the message that fear has spoken over your life. You are not fragile. You are fierce in faith. You are not broken. You are becoming. You are not too far gone. You are perfectly placed in my hands. Even if fear stays near, it no longer defines your steps. My love does. You've lived with fear like a companion so familiar, you almost forgot it wasn't meant to stay. It's crept into your relationships, into the way you interpret silence, into how you brace yourself before every new beginning. It's woven itself into your sense of identity, whispering that you must stay cautious, guarded, small. It tells you that this is wisdom. But I need you to know, that's not my voice. That is not the wisdom from above. That is not my way. I don't lead you through fear. I lead you through love. My love is not passive. It doesn't merely comfort. It confronts. It steps into the places where fear has built a fortress and gently begins to dismantle it, brick by brick, not by force, but with presence. Not by demands, but by truth. And here's the truth. You're not fragile. You're not weak for needing me. You're not disqualified because you tremble. You're not alone in the room where fear sits heavy on your chest. I'm there, even now, breathing peace into the atmosphere, even when you can't feel it yet. I know that fear has taught you to hide, to not speak too loudly, to not dream too big, to not hope too freely. You've been afraid of what happens if you open your heart too wide. What if it gets broken again? What if you lose what you love? What if the good thing doesn't last? And those aren't shallow fears. They are born from experience, from loss, from grief that came without warning. I don't dismiss those roots. I hold them. I weep with you for the pain that created them. But I also speak life into the branches they've twisted, because your story is not over, and fear will not have the final word. You've been told to just have faith, as if faith is a button you press to make fear vanish. But real faith is not denial. It's not pretending you don't feel what you feel. It's the choice to place what you feel in my hands, again and again. It's choosing to believe that I am good even when the world is not. It's choosing to trust me with the pieces of your heart that fear has shattered, even if you're not sure how I'll put them back together. You don't need to know how. You just need to know that I will. Let me remind you of something you may have forgotten. Your value is not determined by your composure. I don't love you more on the days you're calm or less on the days you're anxious. I don't withdraw when you panic or when your confidence falters. If anything, I draw closer. The sound of your racing heart doesn't repel me. It calls me. It tells me that you need my presence, not my pressure. And I come quickly, not with rebuke, but with reassurance. I don't say, "Why are you afraid?" I say, "Let me hold you." You may wonder, will I ever be free? And I say, yes. Yes, not because you will never feel fear again, but because you will no longer be ruled by it. Yes, because you are learning to recognize the difference between fear's voice and mine. Yes, because what you feed grows, and you are learning to feed your faith. You are soaking in truth. You are surrounding yourself with light. You are leaning into me even when everything in you wants to hide. That is freedom being born. And no, it's not easy. I know how it feels when fear flares up without warning. I know how exhausting it is to keep moving forward when everything inside you screams to freeze or run. I know what it's like to be misunderstood, even by yourself. But I also know what it is to overcome, not in a way that erases the past, but in a way that reclaims it. And that is what I am doing with you. I am reclaiming every space where fear once reigned. I'm restoring every broken place. I'm redeeming every dark memory, not with avoidance, but with presence. This healing will not always feel miraculous. Sometimes it will feel mundane. Sometimes it will feel like one slow breath at a time. one gentle prayer in the quiet, one small yes in the face of big fear. But those small yeses are powerful. They build momentum. They break chains. And I am in every one of them, cheering you on, strengthening your spirit, anchoring your heart in truth. You may not see the transformation yet, but it is happening. I'm not asking you to never feel afraid. I'm asking you to remember that my love is stronger. I'm asking you to let me speak louder. I'm asking you to invite me in again and again until fear finds no space to settle. And even when it tries, even when the lies come knocking, you will know where to run. You will know whose arms are safest. Mine. There will come a day when you will look back on this season and see how much I was doing behind the scenes. You will see how each fear became an invitation for my love to prove itself again. You will realize that you were never walking alone, not for a second. And your voice, once silenced by fear, will become a testimony to others who are still trembling. You will be the one who says, "I've been there, but he carried me through, and he'll carry you too." So for now, just stay close. Let me be your calm. Let me be your constant. Let my love saturate every cell, every thought, every breath. You are not too far gone. You are not broken beyond repair. You are not defined by the fear you feel. You are mine. And I will never stop loving you into freedom. You've come a long way, even if it doesn't feel like it, even if fear still clings like a familiar garment, worn and hard to remove. Even if the nights still bring that familiar ache, and the mornings carry that dull resistance to begin again. I see the steps you've taken, the ones no one else noticed, the quiet victories of getting out of bed when anxiety gripped your chest, the whispered prayers when you couldn't find words, the deep breaths you took instead of giving up. These aren't small things to me. These are monuments, sacred markers of a heart that keeps choosing me, even in the storm. I know how loud fear can be. I know how convincing. It says it's protecting you, but it only imprisons. It promises to prepare you, but instead, it robs you. It tricks you into believing that if you can just worry enough, just anticipate every outcome, you might avoid pain. But the truth is, worry doesn't prevent tomorrow's heartache. It only steals today's peace. And I came not to burden you with more fear, but to lift the weight, to invite you into a love so complete, so constant, that fear loses its grip entirely. I want you to imagine, just for a moment, what it would feel like to live unafraid, not because your life is perfect, not because nothing bad ever happens, but because you know deep in your bones that you are held. That no matter what comes, no matter who leaves, no matter what changes, I will remain. My love will remain. That's the kind of life I'm calling you into. Not a fearless life, but a fearless heart. One that still beats steady when the winds rise. One that stays open when the world tells you to shut down. There is a difference between being safe and being whole. You have tried to feel safe by shrinking, by hiding, by silencing your desires and your dreams. But I didn't make you to be invisible. I didn't design you to live in the shadows of your potential. Safety in me does not mean absence from life. It means full presence in it, knowing that I walk with you into every unknown. You are not a burden for needing reassurance. You're not weak for needing to hear it again. You're not alone. I have not left you. I never will. You've gotten used to preparing for the worst. It's a pattern that's followed you, sometimes even masquerading as faith. If I expect the worst, I won't be disappointed. But that's not faith. That's fear in disguise. Faith looks like hope even when it's vulnerable. Faith is not naive. It's courageous. It says, even if the worst happens, I am not undone. That's what I offer you. Not a promise of a pain-free life, but the assurance of an unshakable presence. my love, isn't your shield from life. It's your anchor in it. When you feel like your mind is a battlefield, I want you to remember that I do not fight against you. I fight for you. I don't look at your anxious thoughts and grow weary. I don't recoil when the same fear returns for the 100th time. I'm not surprised when panic rises again. I come close. Every time. I come close with peace that surpasses understanding. Peace that doesn't make sense in the moment, but holds you steady through it. That's how you'll know it's me. Not the absence of fear, but the presence of peace, even in the middle of it. Fear isolates, but love connects. And I'm always pulling you closer, not just to me, but to others. You've believed the lie that you're too much, too messy, too complicated, but I didn't create you to carry your fears alone. I placed people in your path who reflect my heart. Let them see you. Let them help you. Vulnerability is not weakness. It is worship. Every time you open your heart to someone trustworthy, you create space for healing to multiply. My love flows not only from heaven to your heart, but through community, through compassion, through shared stories. There is power in your story. You may think it's just one of struggle, of managing and surviving, but I see the beauty rising from it. I see the testimony forming in the middle of the trial. You're not just surviving this. You're becoming something more resilient, more radiant, more rooted in truth. You are walking through fire, yes, but you are not being burned. You are being refined. And there will come a day when you will speak with authority to others who are still shackled by fear. You will say, I've been there, and he brought me through. And your words will carry the weight of glory. So do not despise your journey. Do not compare it. Do not rush it. I am with you in every chapter, even the ones you wish you could skip. I'm not just interested in the destination. I am invested in the process. I'm near when you move forward, and I'm near when you need to pause and catch your breath. Nothing about you is too much for me. Your emotions, your doubts, your regressions, I hold it all with grace. I'm not disappointed in you. I delight in you, even now, especially now. You may still feel the ache of fear in your chest, but I promise you, my love is healing it. Slowly, steadily, deeply. Not by numbing it, not by ignoring it, but by walking straight into it with you. Fear will no longer dictate your direction. My love will. And that is how you'll know the difference. When love becomes your compass, peace becomes your path, and I become your home. You're doing better than you think, and you are loved more than you know. Let's talk about the moments no one sees. The moments when fear rises before your feet even touch the ground in the morning. The weight in your chest before your eyes open. The thoughts already waiting to ambush you. The silent rehearsals of everything that might go wrong today. You get up and move through the day anyway. But I see you. I see the invisible labor of trying to stay grounded when everything inside feels fragile. I see how much energy it takes to simply keep going. And I want to say to you again, I am proud of you. Not because you're pretending everything's okay, but because even in your fear, you're still here. Still reaching for me. Still choosing to believe that love has something more to say. Fear often feels like protection, but it's a disguise. It tells you it's keeping you from harm, but really, it's keeping you from fullness. Fullness of joy, fullness of connection, fullness of purpose. I know why you cling to it, because part of you believes it keeps you safe. If you expect disappointment, it won't hurt as much. If you prepare for loss, maybe it won't destroy you. But I never called you to live half alive, tiptoeing through life as though hope is a danger. I called you to boldness, not loud, brash confidence, but the quiet, steady certainty that comes from knowing I've already written every chapter and I've never left your side. You were not created to walk through life on the defensive. You were created to love without fear, to build, to laugh, to dream, to rest. But I know life taught you otherwise. Pain taught you to brace. Loss taught you to hold back. Betrayal taught you to question every good thing. So now your nervous system is always scanning for what's next, what's coming, what might fall apart. And I'm not angry at this. I understand why it's become your rhythm. But I'm inviting you into a new rhythm now, one that doesn't rely on hypervigilance, but on presence. My presence. When fear spikes, your first instinct is often to ask, "What's wrong with me?" But that's the wrong question. The real question is, where is the lie that fear is feeding on? Because that's what fear does. It attaches itself to lies. Lies that say you're not enough, that you're alone, that something terrible is just around the corner. Lies that whisper you'll never be okay, never be free, never be whole. But I am the truth. And where my truth enters, lies must fall. You are not too much. You are not broken beyond repair. You are not a lost cause. You are mine. I'm not asking you to ignore fear. I'm asking you to listen to it with me. Let me be in the room when it speaks. Let me help you identify the lie and replace it with truth. Fear says, "You're not ready." I say, "I have already equipped you." Fear says people will leave. I say, "I will never leave." Fear says it's all on you. I say, "I carry you." You don't have to silence fear with force. You silence it with familiarity. The more familiar you become with my voice, the less power fear will have. And my voice, beloved, is always rooted in love, in peace, in assurance. I know how it feels when your body reacts before your mind can catch up. The rapid heartbeat, the tight chest, the rush of adrenaline. And I want you to know, I'm not distant in those moments. I'm right there, closer than your next breath. You don't have to pull it together to feel me. You don't have to get calm before I'll comfort you. I come into your distress. I sit in it with you. And I gently anchor you back to me over and over again until your nervous system learns a new pattern. Not fear, but trust. Let me tell you something sacred. Healing doesn't mean you'll never feel fear again. It means fear no longer makes your decisions. It doesn't lead anymore. It doesn't define you. It doesn't narrate your story. My love does. And my love has always been writing a different story for you. One where you are not the fragile victim of your fears, but the beloved child of the King, carried through every dark night and delivered into peace that surpasses all understanding. You've asked me, how do I trust when I've been let down? And I say, start small. Start here. Trust isn't built in leaps. It's built in moments. The moment you pray instead of panic. The moment you speak instead of stay silent. The moment you rest when fear says you can't. Each act of trust builds a foundation, one stone at a time. And I am the mortar holding it all together. You will not fall. Not while I'm building you. And you're not alone in this. I have placed people around you. Some who understand, some who have walked a similar road, some who will walk with you into healing, even if they've never known your pain. You were never meant to do this alone. Isolation strengthens fear, but love thrives in connection. Lean into those I've placed near you. Let them speak truth when you forget. Let them remind you of what's real when lies shout loudest. This journey you're on, it's not punishment. It's not failure. It's not delay. It's sacred. It's transformation. I'm not wasting a single moment. Even now, in the waiting, in the trembling, I am working. I am reordering your inner world, so it no longer bows to fear, but lives in step with love. My love is not a theory. It is power, and it is working deeply in you even now, You are not your fear. You are not your anxiety. You are not your panic. You are my beloved, my chosen, my masterpiece in progress. I delight in you. I am committed to you. And I will not let fear have the final say. I will have it. And my final word is always love. Let me speak now to the places that you've buried deep, the layers of fear so familiar they no longer feel foreign, so embedded in your daily life they seem like part of who you are. You've learned to live with these hidden fears, to manage them, to work around them. You've called it just the way I am, but I have not accepted that label for you. I see who you truly are beneath those defenses, and I am gently, patiently, lovingly bringing you back to yourself. Back to the version of you that existed before fear whispered that you needed to hide, to shrink, to protect your heart at all costs. You may not even remember the exact moment fear took hold. Maybe it started with a loss, or a betrayal, or a silence that was too long and too empty. Maybe it came through words never meant to be spoken, harsh, careless, or cutting. Or maybe it crept in through what was never said, never given, never affirmed. Whatever the doorway, I was there. Not indifferent, not passive. I wept with you. I wrapped myself around your soul, shielding what I could, even when the wounds came. You are still here, and that is evidence of my love. Do you know what it means to be held by me? It means that nothing, no fear, no panic, no darkness can separate you from my heart. It means that even when you are undone, you are not cast away. When the tears come unannounced, when your hands shake, when your thoughts spiral and your chest tightens, I do not flinch. I am not overwhelmed by your overwhelm. I do not panic when you panic. I simply stay, steady, still, constant, until you can feel again that you're not alone. You've been told to be strong, but strength doesn't mean pretending you're unaffected. Strength is found in allowing yourself to feel and still choosing to turn to me. It's crying out when you'd rather be silent. It's reaching out when everything in you wants to isolate. It's praying, even if the only words you can form are, God, help. And I answer that prayer, not always with immediate resolution, but always with immediate presence. I never delay my nearness. Your cries don't need to climb a ladder to reach me. They are met with my response before the echo has faded. Fear tells you, don't trust again, you'll get hurt. My love says, let me heal what was broken so you can live again. Fear says, you'll never get better. This is just who you are now. My love says, you are being renewed moment by moment, day by day. Fear says, you have to fix this alone. My love says, I never asked you to carry this by yourself. Who will you believe? You may not know how to believe yet. That's okay. I will carry the faith for you. I will hold the hope when your hands are too tired. All I ask is that you don't close your heart to me, even if your trust is small, even if it's just a flicker. That is enough for me to begin with. I do not need a grand gesture. I need your permission, your openness, your honest cry. I can work miracles with that. There's something else I want you to know. Your healing will never come from self-reliance. You've tried to fix yourself. You've read the books, listened to the voices, studied the strategies, and many of those things are helpful. But they cannot replace me. You were not created to function apart from my presence. You were not designed to walk alone. Independence may feel like strength, but it is not wholeness. True wholeness is found in surrender, in allowing me into the most vulnerable rooms of your soul and letting me restore what fear has broken. Let me restore your imagination. You've spent so long picturing worst-case scenarios. Your mind runs ahead of reality, painting images of disaster, of rejection, of failure. But what if you gave me your imagination? What if you allowed me to sanctify the place where your fear projects pain? I can fill it with vision. with possibility, with pictures of joy, purpose, and healing. I can teach your mind a new song, one that doesn't prepare for devastation but expects. My goodness, that's not foolishness. That's faith. And let me restore your language. You've spoken fear over yourself for so long. I can't handle this. I'm just an anxious person. I always mess things up. But what if you began to echo what I say about you instead? Try it. Say, I am loved. Say, I am not alone. Say, God is with me, even here. Watch what happens when your mouth aligns with my truth. Fear loses its grip not only when your heart believes, but when your voice begins to agree. You don't have to rush this. I am not in a hurry. I will sit with you in the fear as long as it takes. I will walk with you until your steps are steady. I will whisper truth until it drowns out the lies. I will love you, fully, fiercely, faithfully, until you begin to believe again that you are safe. You're not the only one walking this road. There are others, many others, carrying similar fears, fighting similar battles, and in time, your healing will be someone else's hope. Your story will become a path for others to follow. Not because you've done everything right, but because you let me into everything that went wrong. Because you allowed my love to be real, not just in theory, but in the trenches of fear. So here now, take another breath. You don't have to know what comes next. You don't have to figure it all out. Just take this step, and know that I take it with you. I always have. Let's pause here, not in retreat, but in reflection. Let's sit together in this sacred space between where you've come from and where you're going. You've faced much already. You've stared fear in the face, and even though your knees shook and your voice trembled, you didn't turn away. You came to me. You brought the pieces, the pain, the confusion, the weight. And I want you to know, with a depth that anchors your soul, that your fear has not disqualified you. It has invited you deeper, deeper into my presence, deeper into the truth of who I am, deeper into the love that does not demand perfection, but offers presence. There's a shift happening inside you. You may not see it yet. You may still feel fragile, but I see the cracks where light is breaking through. I see the sacred tension, the in-between place where fear once dictated your every step. But now love is beginning to take the lead. You're starting to ask different questions. Not just, what if I fail? But what if I grow? Not just, what if they leave? But what if I am loved as I am? That shift, beloved, is where transformation takes root. You don't need to be fearless to be free. That is the lie fear has sold you. That freedom only comes when fear is gone. But that's not my way. My way is different. My way is learning to live fully, even with fear nearby. Because you've chosen to believe in a love that never leaves. My way is peace in the presence of chaos, courage in the presence of uncertainty, joy in the presence of sorrow. I do not wait for all storms to pass before I move. I show up in the middle of them, walking on waves, whispering, "Peace, be still." Sometimes the miracle is not that the storm stops. It's that you can sleep through it, knowing I'm in the boat. That's where you are now. You're learning to rest even when fear knocks. You're learning to pause instead of panic. You're learning to ask, God, where are you in this, rather than assuming I'm absent. And I never am. Even when you can't sense me, even when fear seems louder, I am here. I am always here. Your feelings are real, but they're not always right. They can scream, but they cannot rewrite what I have already declared over you. You are safe in my love. Fear tries to convince you that you're always a step away from falling apart. But my love says you're one breath away from peace, one moment away from clarity, one whisper away from comfort. I have not designed you to collapse under pressure. I've designed you to carry my presence, even when the world is unsteady. And I have been building resilience in you, not the kind that pretends nothing hurts, but the kind that keeps trusting even when it does. That's real strength. And you have it. You don't have to arrive to be used. You don't have to conquer every fear before you live your purpose. I've never waited for you to be perfect before calling you. I've always chosen the trembling ones, the unsure ones, the ones who say, "I'm afraid, but I'll go." That's all I ask. Not flawless courage. Just your heart. Just your willingness. And you've already said yes in ways you don't even realize. Every time you chose hope instead of despair, that was a yes. Every time you reached for me instead of numbing your pain, that was a yes. Every time you dared to believe things could be different, that was a yes. I honor every one of them. You may still feel haunted by your past. You may hear the voice of fear saying, "This will never change. You will always feel this way." But that voice is a liar. I am the God of new beginnings, and your story is not stuck. I'm writing a new chapter, not one that ignores what came before, but one that redeems it. Nothing is wasted in my hands. Every tear, every sleepless night, every panic that had no name, I gather them. I remember them and I turn them into power. Not the kind the world recognizes, but the kind that changes you from the inside out. I want you to dream again. I want you to hope again. I want you to look at the future, not through the lens of fear, but through the lens of love. What if the best is still ahead? What if you are not behind? What if healing is happening, even when it feels slow? What if the version of you you've been waiting to become is already taking shape? Not when fear disappears, but because you've decided that love gets the last word. You were not made to shrink. You were not made to hide. You were not made to settle for survival. You were made to live with boldness, not a reckless boldness, but a sacred one. The kind that walks into a room and brings peace. The kind that speaks life in the presence of pain. The kind that carries my light without apology. That's who you are becoming. That's what my love is forming in you. So here's what I ask of you now. Keep showing up. Keep breathing. Keep letting me in. You don't have to do it perfectly. Just keep doing it honestly. You're not failing. You're healing. And healing is rarely a straight line. Sometimes it looks like joy. Sometimes it looks like grief. Sometimes it looks like silence. But through it all, I am there. I am the constant, the faithful, the never leaving one. You are allowed to live free even before you feel free. That is faith. That is trust. That is love winning the long war against fear. And love is winning, beloved. In you, around you, through you. Let it. Come closer now. You've walked with me through this path of fear, step by step. You've let me into the wounded places, the hidden corners, the silent shadows. You've opened your heart to the truth that my love is not passive. It is powerful, that it does not wait until you're healed to begin its work, but meets you right in the middle of the tremble, the hesitation, the what-ifs. And now you are beginning to see what I've seen all along. Fear was never your identity. It was only a voice trying to drown out mine. But my voice is rising in you now, and it is louder, stronger, steadier. This is not just the beginning of relief. This is the beginning of reclamation. I am not just easing the fear. I am rewriting your foundation. I am restoring what was lost, rebuilding what was stolen, replanting what was torn up by the roots. And you are not starting from nothing. You are starting from me. From truth, from the solid ground of my love that does not shift with your emotions, your memories, or your struggles. You've come to understand something profound. Fear often arises not because of what is happening, but because of what you've believed could happen. The imagined losses, the projected disappointments, the rehearsed pain. Fear has kept your heart locked in a story that hasn't even unfolded. trying to convince you that safety lies in control. But that's the illusion. Control does not create safety. Presence does. And I am present. Always. This journey we've walked together has not been easy, and I have never promised it would be. But I have promised this: I would never leave you alone in it. I have not been pacing on the edges of your panic. I have been kneeling beside you in the middle of it, breathing calm into your lungs, whispering, "Look at me. Not at the storm. Look at me." And every time you turned your eyes, even for a second, you felt it. Peace. Not because the circumstances changed, but because you remembered I am with you. Let me speak now to the version of you that's still waiting for the next shoe to drop, still bracing for something to go wrong, still believing that peace is temporary and fear is inevitable. That's not your inheritance. You're not bound to a cycle of dread and delay. You're not doomed to always circle back to anxiety. That pattern does not define you. My promise does. And my promise is freedom. Not performative freedom, not temporary escape, but the deep, internal, blood-bought kind of freedom that settles into your bones and reminds you that even if fear speaks, it no longer commands. You've learned to recognize fear's voice. Now you are learning to respond with truth. I hear you, you say to the fear, but I do not follow you anymore. That is transformation. That is authority. That is what my spirit has been cultivating in you all along. It's time you see what I see. Not the trembling hands, not the shaky breath, not the sleepless nights. I see the endurance. I see the choosing of light when darkness seemed easier. I see the reaching for hope even when it felt distant. I see the love you continue to give, the truth you cling to when everything else feels unstable. And I see the fruit. It may feel small, but it is growing. Peace that returns quicker, thoughts that are redirected more easily, a heart that trusts faster than it used to. These are not minor victories. They are sacred shifts, and I am in every one of them. You're becoming someone who carries peace, not just someone who receives it, but someone who releases it into the world. You are not only healing, you are becoming a healer. Your scars will shine with purpose. Your story will become a pathway for others. Your empathy will become a balm. What fear meant for harm, I am turning into hope. This is redemption, and it is already unfolding. You've asked, how will I know when I'm free? And I say, you already are. Freedom isn't just the absence of fear. It's the presence of love where fear once reigned. And love lives in you now. It breathes in you, it thinks with you, it moves through your words and your steps. When you stand in love, fear cannot stay long. It may knock, but it finds no resting place. You are becoming a sanctuary, not for fear, but for my glory. A resting place for peace. Then yes, the world will still shake. The unexpected will still come. There will be moments when fear tries to sneak back in. But the difference now is, you will not crumble. You will recognize the lie. You will run to me quickly. You will not spiral. You will speak truth. And even if you need to cry again, even if you falter, I will still be here, unshaken. I do not measure your progress by perfection. I measure it by proximity. And you, beloved, are closer than ever. So take this moment in, not as a pause, but as a promise. You are not who you were when you first cried out. You have changed, grown, deepened. And this is not the end of your journey with me. It is the launching point for a new way of living. A way of walking in peace, of thinking with truth, of moving with love. Now come close, beloved, as I gather you into the fullness of what I've been speaking over your life. Not just in these pages, but in every heartbeat, in every breath you've taken since the beginning. Let me remind you of what this journey has been about. Not just confronting fear, but learning how to live under the shelter of love. Not simply surviving panic, but discovering what it means to breathe again in freedom. You have walked through shadows, yes, but you have also walked with me, and that has made all the difference. This is not just the end of a chapter. It is the beginning of a life shaped not by fear, but by my presence. I have been healing you, not always in the ways you expected, not always in moments of great drama or visible transformation, but in quiet rooms where your knees hit the floor, in still nights where you whispered my name with trembling lips, in days you didn't think you could make it through, but somehow did. That somehow was me. That strength you didn't think you had, that was my love alive in you. You asked me more than once, will I always struggle with this? And I've heard that question not as doubt, but as a longing for peace. My answer is this: you are not your struggle. You are not your fear. Even if the feeling returns, it no longer rules. Even if the thoughts creep in, they no longer build a throne. My love has dethroned fear in your life. It may come, it may knock, but it no longer gets to stay. You are mine, and fear has lost its grip on what belongs to me. Let me say this plainly: you are free, even now. Not because of what you've done, but because of who I am. My freedom is not earned. It is given. It is a gift, wrapped in grace, soaked in mercy, sealed in blood. It is finished. The fear that tried to write your story has been silenced by the love that gave you a new name. And that name is not afraid, not insecure, not broken. That name is beloved. That name is safe. That name is whole. And I call you by that name forever, and I want you to look back, not with regret, but with reverence. The pain didn't break you. It built something sacred in you. The struggle didn't ruin you. It revealed a strength you didn't know you had. The tears didn't drown you. They watered the soil where new joy is beginning to bloom. Every time you thought you were falling apart, I was actually piecing you together in a way more beautiful than before. What fear used to destroy, I have used to deepen your roots. So what now? Now you live, truly, freely, boldly. Not because fear has disappeared, but because love has taken the lead. You don't wait for every doubt to vanish before you move. You move in faith, even with trembling hands. You speak when you're unsure because you know I speak through your weakness. You go forward, not because you feel ready, but because you know I've gone ahead of you. This is what courage looks like. Not the absence of fear, but the presence of trust. You've spent too long apologizing for your process, for your struggle, for your story. But I'm asking you now to do something different. Share it. Speak it. Not out of obligation, but out of overflow. Let your story be a doorway for someone else's healing. Let your honesty be a light in someone else's dark. There is someone who needs to hear that fear does not have the final word, because you've lived that truth. There is someone waiting to find the God you've met in the fire. Don't hide what I've done in you. It's too beautiful to keep to yourself. And as you share, keep returning to me. This is not a one-time encounter. This is an ongoing relationship. I will continue to walk with you, speak to you, cover you. There will be days when the noise of the world tries to drown out what I've said here. There will be moments when fear tries to reassert itself, but now you know what to do. You run back. You listen for my voice. You remember who you are, and you let me remind you again. Let me remind you as many times as you need. I have no limits on my patience, no end to my compassion. My love is not a one-time event. It is a daily reality. It is a shelter you can return to every moment, every hour, every heartbeat. Whether you're standing tall or curled up in doubt, I will be there. I will always be there. You are free to rest now, free to stop rehearsing disaster, free to stop editing yourself to make others comfortable. free to stop expecting pain and start expecting promise. You are free to laugh without apology, to dream without fear of failure, to walk without bracing for the worst. This is your inheritance, not just peace in theory, but peace in motion. My peace, my presence, always. Let me speak this blessing over you now. You will rise in love. You will walk in peace. You will not be shaken. You will not be lost. You will not return to the bondage that once defined you. You are mine, and I rejoice over you with singing. You are no longer a slave to fear. You are a child of perfect, holy, eternal love. Amen. Now go, not away from me, but with me. Share this word. Someone else is waiting to know they are not alone. Let them see what love can do when fear is no longer in charge. Tell them, love wins, every time.